We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you if I don't say the words that make...
Bonjour et bienvenue sur les questions NUFC. Hey, welcome to NUFC Matters. It's Melly. Good evening, Melly. How are you?
Good evening, mate. All right. Hey, the intro to that to this show is absolutely fantastic. Every time, you know,
you're like that. You're like that. You're going into the I know I can see you in the green room. It's spot on, mate. But big night tonight. Champions League is back for Newcastle. You know, it's exciting watching the countdown. Not there obviously tonight, but they're in spirit. Great to see that Newcastle fans are, as always, conducting themselves in the best way they can, despite a bit of provocation last night from the PSG Ultras. But looks like it's a party atmosphere this afternoon, and Newcastle fans, if you're out there and you're managing to catch a show before you go to the ground, be safe, be sensible, and just enjoy the game. And remember, you're representing your club when you're out there. But lots to talk about. Melly on to talk about Champions League, on to talk about Premier League, and of course, looking ahead to the big game at the weekend when Newcastle take on Manchester United at the Shrine, St James's Park. Melly, we'll get to that a little bit later on. You're a man in demand, but I want to talk to you first about your podcast. You're going to do a podcast, Melly.
Yes.
You've enjoyed coming on here. You've enjoyed doing your bit. You're a Manchester United fan from up north, and you're looking to do one. So tell us a little bit about it, and when can people expect to see it?
Well, I'm hoping that it's going to start this week, Steve. It's finding the time, you know. I see what you go through, you know, to put these shows on. It's with work and whatnot. So hopefully by the end of the week we'll have our first show out. And we're going to talk football. You know, I'm going to get my pals on. I've got Gary Brotherton's coming on, and just local lads, you know, who know that crack about football. But we're aiming to, you know, bring a few different people in. So I've got a guy called Dougie Forborn who's well known at grassroots level. He's a scout for Newcastle, and he's also, I think he takes under 10s, under 11s, Newcastle United. But he runs Stake 4 Juniors, and he knows what it's like and how hard it is to get to the top. And we're going to talk about, you know, expectations from parents and clubs and stuff like that. We're going to mix it up, you know. We're going to have a bit of that on every week. I've got Love Island star Brad McClellan lined up. He's coming on. Mate, you know, I just think we're just going to talk about football in general, because a lot of people have a, you know, like your show shows, mate, a lot of good opinions on football, and it's just for something for somebody to watch, you know. And I hope people will join in. The show's called, YouTube channel is called Talking Turf. So that's Talking and then TURF, Talking Turf. If anybody would like to subscribe, please head over and subscribe. And hopefully the first video will be out this week, and you'll get to see the beautiful Sir Alex Ferguson stand every week.
Classic. Dave W says, glad me mates are cheering everyone up on social media with his die attempt. Carl Chater posted something this today that was absolutely brilliant. The guy looks like Freddie Mercury. And obviously give him some of that trick soap when he was stopping in the hotel. He ended up, you know, when he realized, and he put it all over his head. Oh my God! If you haven't seen it, I've retweeted it.
I've seen it. It's absolutely fantastic. You had Black Halloween scene.
Dave W, pass on our congratulations. He's gone viral, and that is absolutely brilliant. I've even seen it getting a mention on the news today. So fantastic. Well done. And good luck with the channel. I'll definitely be popping on as a Newcastle correspondent, mate, for you. No problem at all for that. I've got to ask you as well, because you're our man on the ground, or in the ground, I should say, at Old Trafford. On the breakfast show last week, we were talking about the incident which took place during the women's game at Old Trafford, where a bit of concrete had fallen from up above somewhere. I mean, I've got to be honest, the way it was described, when people say concrete, and you know what the media are like for exaggerating things, I was expecting it to be like a slab of concrete that had dropped. I mean, when I saw it, it was a sizable chunk that had dropped. I wouldn't have wanted to drop it on my head from a height. But you don't know where it's come from, how high it's come. It's obviously not, giving anybody any life-threatening injuries. But that's a bit concerning, isn't it? You've been telling me about leaks in the roof and this, that, and the other. But, it clearly looks as if part of the ground is in disrepair, Melly. What's going on?
It is, mate. It's mainly the south stand, to be fair. And it's, they've... if you were to see a picture from the railway line, you'd see why it's falling apart. Mate, it's absolutely disgusting. You'd think it was a ground of any disrespect to them, but like non-league, the back end of it, it's terrible, and inside it's bad. Like the executive end pisses in with rain, to be fair. Like, and it's on match days, that's puddles on the steps and stuff, man. That's how bad it really is. So it doesn't surprise us that something's come down. It's only a matter that water gets in everywhere, so it's rotting everything away. And it was only a matter of time before it happened. Did it hit her on the head? Nobody knows. Like, it's speculation. But if something dropped in front of you, you would say that, wouldn't you? And it's gonna do a good, really, because the more complaints that gone in, the better for us, because they just don't seem to be doing anything about it. I cannot say it costing a lot of money to fix, not compared to some of the bills, and just get it done, and then that shuts that side of it up. I said to you last week that I secretly think that the Qataris are still in there.
Yeah.
And I this week I'm even more positive that I think that they are. Something's happening, like something else is happening. So hopefully, mate, come the end of December, we'll have some kind of word from the Glazers of what's going on, because at the minute we're all like, it's a guessing game for and hope, and that's what we've got. But nothing seems to be happening. There's no correspondence with them in the MUSC, so we're just getting used to it now. But I just I personally think that they wouldn't have hired the Rain Group if they didn't have any intention to sell. They could have just said that the intention was to sell through social media or wherever, and it would have leaked, and that would have done the job if they weren't going to sell. But to get the Rain Group in, it tells me that they are going to sell. It's just who are they selling the stake, or they're going to sell the whole lot. But either way, it needs sorting, so bits of concrete can stop falling on top of people. You haven't gone to a stadium. If it has landed on top of it, it's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
From a high height, it might be a little bit, but it would have hurt, So,
of course it would have. You don't want any bits and bobs falling on your napper from any stand, to be honest. Like, so they need to get that sorted out. Last thing on Manchester United. We'll look ahead to the game a little bit later on, but yeah, the Ratcliffe story was interesting as well from my perspective. That especially with the Premier League vote, and again we'll talk about that a little bit. The Premier League vote last week, which everyone was making a big song and dance about, saying it was all to do with Newcastle. Well, there's plenty of other clubs in the Premier League who would stand to be punished from that rule change if it had come in. So of course it didn't, by the smallest of minorities. But of course Ratcliffe comes in. If he takes 25%, then he does have a vested interest in Nice. So there was talk about Manchester United or Nice not being allowed to play in the Champions League next year. So I guess the Premier League vote last week probably suited you as well, Millie.
It did, but I'm sure I read somewhere that if he was to buy, because he's not the full owner, that it doesn't include him, because he's only a 25% stakeholder. So unless it happened, and then we've got concrete evidence, and I suppose we'll never know it. But I mean, if it was to happen, then Obviously, it would be Nice that wouldn't be playing in it.
Well, you never know. I mean, that Premier League vote, it was basically placed at Newcastle United's door, but there was plenty of teams who could have been affected by that had it gone through. What did you make of it?
That was the right call, isn't it? That's what I said last week. I said it was the right call. You know, like players should be free to come and go to wherever they want to. Politics gets involved and money gets involved, and they stop people playing. At the end of the day, like they should be playing anywhere, and it doesn't matter. Like I said to you, Steve, you're not going to the La Liga and pinching players. It's the Saudi league. Do you know what I mean? Of any league, well, for you it is. It's the Saudi league, and the Saudi league. Although you've got the likes of Mane and Mahrez, etc., who you would take, and Neves, there isn't many that you would probably take from over there, mate, because they're all on stupid money, and they're probably gone there to, you know, see their career out and get the last payday. Do you want them at St. James's Park? Probably not. No. Mane and Neves is probably the only ones I would take, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would agree. I just think it was all a red herring as far as Newcastle was concerned. Certainly, Newcastle didn't give any indication that they were going to chase Neves. It's simply the fact that Tonali got banned till August next year. Newcastle are looking for you would imagine Newcastle are looking for a creative midfielder or a midfielder of some sort on loan. I just think it was a bit of media reaction, and that's why it was put at Newcastle's door.
I'll tell you what, like I watched your game though. Who was it with Chelsea? Is it Lewis Miley?
Yeah,
mate, he is top draw. Him like
he is.
And then when I seen him on Twitter afterwards, he looks about 12.
He does. I
couldn't believe it.
His brother's
gonna be a very good player. Him like
his brother's the better one of the two, and he's younger.
Really?
Yeah, there's two.
See at Newcastle as well.
Both at Newcastle.
Where does he play? The younger brother?
Midfield again, I think.
Another
midfielder, yeah.
Like the Longstaffs all over again.
It's a strange situation having two brothers coming through again at Newcastle United, because, you know, ultimately, as you say, the Longstaffs came through together. We had the Appleby brothers years ago, but there has been, you know, some famous brothers who've gone on to do well. The Robledo brothers, of course, you know, George Robledo coming to Newcastle, played alongside his brother Ted. So, you know, we've had our fair share, but the Miley brothers look very, very capable. From Stanley, of course, so from the northeast as well. Lewis Miley's represented England at under 17 level and under 19 level. But yeah, I mean, you know, tonight he will no doubt start the game. He played in the Champions League match against Dortmund as a substitute, but this time he'd probably get his first start, and he just looks like he's been there, you know, a hell of a long time. He looks accomplished, as does Tino Livramento, by the way, who
he's class,
amazing, and he was playing at left back, which you would imagine is his weaker role.
Do you know? People think, you know, these positions didn't really make a team until you're missing somebody. And it's a fine, like you can say it with Manchester United, mate. We were missing Luke Shaw. He came back into the fold on Sunday and he made all the difference. You know, like, I mean, him and Manu, but Luke Shaw was just absolutely outstanding. And it's the same with that Livramento, mate. He brings so much to your team. Like, he can play left back, right back, but it's just he wants to go. You know, like, and he'll defend. And he can defend. And that just gives you so much confidence across your back four and your midfield. Your midfielders all of a sudden aren't so bothered about losing it, because now they've got him there who'll get a tackle in, and it makes so much difference. Like, it really does. I'm very impressed with that Livramento. And getting back to Miley, he's a future star, him, mate. In fact, I was talking to my mate earlier on, and we were saying, like, England potentially in the next 5 years. And now we've had some good teams over the years, but we could have something really special. You know, like Manu's for Man United, he looked like he'd been playing in the Premier League for 20 years. He was absolutely outstanding. And then you've obviously got Miley, and Bellingham, and the rest of the young'uns that are there already. Mate, England's looking good.
Depends who's managing them, I guess.
I said, that's the exact words I said to the kid at the end of the call after we stopped speaking. I says, but that all depends on who's managing them. We need somebody who will just let them play, you know, like, instead of getting so far in a competition and then like dropping your guts and holding back on a 1-0 win. It doesn't suit England's style of play. and these players are the flair's there. They can play. You know, just let them go. Just unleash them. Just go.
Yeah.
And there's not many teams will be able to stand up again. There's not many teams now can. If England gone at it, mate, there's not many teams can stop them. They'll win 3 or 4-0 most games. It's when they start like hard
it's
and
playing
back.
the big teams. It's playing the big teams. That's where the struggle. The key games. The choke. It's a sports psychology thing. The choke on the big event, and that's the problem. They need to get over that.
How old's Lewis's brother?
Oh, I think he's only 15, 16. He's coming towards the first team. He played in the summer. He played in the summer in the friendlies. So they're blooding them young. Dan Ashworth's following the same kind of remit that he did at Brighton. Eddie Howe as well has got these youngsters playing to the same standard. And the key against Chelsea at the weekend was they all came on the pitch and they knew exactly what they were doing. And let's face it, they didn't. They didn't have a great deal of time on the pitch, the youngsters. But when they came on, and you're talking about players here such as Ndewani. I think he was released as a youngster by was it Spurs or West Ham? The smile on his face was as wide as the Tyne when he came on for Anthony Gordon. We had Diallo coming on for Lewis Miley, and then we had the young left back Alex Murphy coming on for Almiron. We had, three youngsters coming on. We had 3 goalkeepers on the bench. That's how bad our injury crisis is. And yet, we're still managing to perform to the best of our ability. We thumped Chelsea 4-1, and it was deserved. The first half we played okay. Second half we were outstanding. But it's a credit to Eddie Howe and the coaching staff and to everybody involved, because they're getting the best out of the team, and you've just got to hope that it continues. We've got to hope that we can keep it going. We're going to have games though, Melly, like we did against Bournemouth, where we're tired. You're playing huge blocks of games, and we're now, like we talked about at the start of the season. You said we would be tested this year by being in the Champions League, and you were right, and we all knew we would be. But this period in end of November, start into December, 10 games in 32 days with a threadbare squad, this is going to be a big test. Massive. Where we see how we come out of this by New Year's Day, Newcastle will have a good idea of where they're going to be by the end of the season, I think. And if they're still in and around that top 4, top 5, top 6, still in the Carabao Cup, and still, by the grace of God, still in the Champions League, or still in Europe, if they do drop into the Europa, then Newcastle are still fighting on all 4 fronts. And that's remarkable. That will be remarkable when you think about the injuries you've had. And in January, by the time we get to the end of January, most of our players could or should be back. So, it's going to be interesting. And with a January transfer window there as well, and potential of signing players, who knows? But like Eddie Howe does, you take it game by game. We'll wait and see. And tonight's a big one for Newcastle. PSG in the Champions League. Beat them 4-1, at the start of our Champions League journey, more or less. They're going to be a different proposition tonight, though, I would imagine, although they have got injuries themselves, Melly.
They have, but they're a force to be reckoned with over there, aren't they? I don't know. I would like to see us get a draw. That's all you need, really, is a draw. So I've got a feeling that, well, I've got a feeling now that Eddie he'll be changing his tactics tonight, and I think it'll probably be 10 men behind the ball and counter-attacking. That's the only thing you can do because Mbappe is playing, isn't he? He's on. So, it's a massive test tonight for you. Like I say, I hope you get the draw. I cannot see it happening. I thought Chelsea would have beat you. Like I said, I thought Chelsea would have had too much for you at the weekend, and it ones each. Whoever got the 3rd goal, mate, I thought it was really decisive, and to prove that, you got the 2nd goal, and then I think Reece James got sent off. Quick 3rd goal. Reece James gets sent off. The game's yours, So they're the games that you need to win at home. You've won them with a depleted squad. It's just a pity that we're not a month forward in the January window's only 10, 12 days away, maybe, because I think you need it more now than you ever have. But like you say, it's a learning curve, mate. It's a learning curve for the owners. It's a learning curve for the manager, for the players, and for the fans. And, you know, he's again invaluable experience here in the Premier League and in the Champions League. And Eddie's doing what Alex Ferguson used to do, you know, like you bring young ones on for 5 or 10 minutes here or there in games that were won. And what that must do for their confidence is anyone's business, because like you say, he had a massive smile on his face, and the next time he comes out, he'll be buzzing. So he's doing it the right way, you know, and I just think that's Eddie all over. So when the January transfer window comes, he's not going to go all out and just buy any Tom, Dick, or Harry. He wants people to buy into his project, and Dan Ashworth's, because that's how they've got it. They've got it. So the connection between the fan and the players and the owners is all there. Everybody feels like they're their best friends. You know, like you see it. Medrad puts a post on Twitter, and you know, like the replies that come in, people feel like they're friends, and that's how it should be. You know. So it'll be interesting to see how he's doing in December. Hopefully, he get off to a bad start. But we'll see.
You've talked about me, Dad. We've covered it on the show, and we covered his tweet the other day. We spoke about it quite a bit. We will put his, we'll put his tweet out that he said tonight now, and basically he's come out in response to the criticism leveled at him for what he said about the atmosphere at St James's Park the other day, and he said tonight, 2 hours ago, often our intentions and words don't align perfectly. I believe most of you know how deeply I'm committed to this club. My heart beats in black and white, and my love for the club and all of you is unwavering. Let's keep our fingers crossed for tonight. We stand united. Here's to us and our journey together. How are the lads? #NUFC. Okay, so listen, that's it for me. He's put it to bed. I just thought it was ill-timed. I don't think what he was saying was misreading the room. He obviously spoke, with his own opinion of what the atmosphere was like at the match. I've been to worse. I've been to better. I think we hit a benchmark, and a lot of people suggested this in the chat. I think we hit a high for this season, a hiatus with the PSG atmosphere. And I think anything after PSG looks substandard. And I also think there's lots of things to be taken into contention. I think Newcastle scored 2 quick goals. The euphoria died down, and I think it was cold. This isn't making excuses, but people tend to sit on their hands. You know what I mean, at home games, and try and keep warm. And I just think there's a few reasons why it wasn't great. I've seen people pointing to the fact that the standing, the standing areas have a part to play. That people go and stand there, but doesn't mean they're going to go and sing. And there's so many different reasons, but I've got to be honest. I don't think Newcastle's atmosphere has been good for years. I don't think the atmosphere has been good because of all-seater stadia. And I can say that about every single ground I've visited, including Old Trafford over the years, where, the away fans are the ones who do the singing. The home fans respond when they can be bothered, or, at the start of the game. It's par for the course when you go to a game now. The teams come out, you cheer, you have your various songs, all the music's on, you have the stadium announcer building it up, everyone gets into it, and then you sit down and you watch the game. What gets the best out of Newcastle fans is a contentious issue, something going against you, a foul which should have been a foul, it's not given, and people go mad, and that's when people get riled up. It's what happens on the pitch dictates what happens in the stadium and happens with the fans. But I don't think we've had a great atmosphere for years, and I simply put it down really to all-seater stadiums, because in those days we could all go and stand where we wanted, whichever area we went to. You knew where the singing areas were. You went and stood there, and you'd sing your hearts out for the lads, and the rest of the ground would feed off that. I just don't think you've got that now. What's your thoughts, Melly, from your perspective?
It is. It's the same at every ground, mate. You've probably been at most of the ways like I have, and
yeah,
it's always the away crowd who are singing, and most of the home end are the same as Newcastle, like a dodgy decision or a bad tackle, something like that. It's always the same. But for him to come out and say it, he's very clever as well. Because he knows that the next home games against Manchester United, where the crowd's going to be needed. It's a big game for you. So that could be a little bit of it. He could be playing a little bit of reverse psychology with us. But for the owner to come out and say what he has tonight, he hasn't got to do that. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to do that, and he has. And so that shows you how much he cares. And he's came out and said it, and then a few days later he's come out and not retracted his statement, but like defended what he said, kind of, knowing fine well that he's all going to get behind him. And then you'll see a totally different atmosphere at St. James's Park this weekend. And then his plan worked. You know what I mean? He's that's what I think, personally. That's what I think. I think he's but it's hard. It's hard to get the home fans riled up, because the fans that go into away games, like, it's different for every club, but for us, it's a mixture. But I would say 70% of the same people are at the away games. It's changing now, because it's getting harder and harder to get tickets. And it's the same with you lot. But when they're back at Old Trafford, that's 70% are scattered around the ground. Yeah. And if you're trying to like rile an audience up, you've got day trippers, and that's what's happening at Newcastle. Like if you rewind the clock 10 years ago, even 10 years ago, you had a totally different fan base to what you've got today.
You say day trippers, and I mean, Denang says, yeah, some people blame tourists for the quiet atmosphere. I mean, and I saw people putting stuff up saying, I bumped into 15 people, 5 of them were from Scotland, 2 of them, I bumped into another 2 who were Spurs fans, I bumped into 4 people who won a raffle. It was like, like, I'm thinking that it isn't any different at the moment. We haven't created an extra 10,000 seats suddenly to incorporate, these people. Predominantly, our ground is still full of the same season ticket holders. If not, but you've got to remember 10,000 left before the takeover took place. So let's for instance say that there's, I don't know, 25, 30,000 of those people are still the same ones who stuck through the Ashley Tynes, me included. And then you've got 10,000 new supporters. That's a big chunk, I guess. We've also got areas being changed into corporate areas, so that brings a new kind of fan. But I don't think we're suffering from the day tripping syndrome yet. Maybe in certain parts of the ground where tickets are available, but there's not massive amounts of tickets available match per match. And then people could say, well, it's the touts. The touts are selling it to the day trip as well. The touts have changed because now it's digital ticketing. We don't have touts standing outside the ground anymore. What we've got is now people who are very good with algorithms nipping in and taking the tickets and sticking them on a website. So I don't know exactly what's caused it.
Well, your day trippers at the minute are different. Manchester United's day trippers. Manchester United's day trippers are literally, they're flying in from everywhere. For every game. Your day trippers are like a lass and the lad and the lass would have never went years ago, but now they genuinely want, they're interested in the one again, and they'll take the ban. Instead of it just being the lad that guns or the last that guns with our mates, and they're all screaming on. They're not, the gunners like family now, but that's what they want. That's what the big clubs want. They want families to be attending, and they want you to be spending money in the mega stores, and that's the way it's gone, Stephen. That's just the way it is, mate. At the end of the day, like, just go and support your team. I still shout on, even though anybody else does in my stand. I still shout on. You get looks. I had to actually tap the guy on the shoulder in front of us the other week. Season ticket holder as well, by the way. But I took little Melvin, and he's screaming on. He's like Peter Drury. He's like, look, Shaw passes into Casemiro. Casemiro, give it to Anthony. He's talking you through the game. And the guy was looking and I let him go for the first half, but then he kept dealing in the second half. And so I tapped on his shoulder and I goes, mate, you do realize he's only 6-year-old, and he loves football, so let him scream on. You should be joining him, not frowning at him. Do you know what I mean? It's happening everywhere, mate. It's just, I think we're just going to
Lots of people. Ian Brownlee made this point last night as well, and it's valid because we aren't from the town. Doesn't mean we don't love the club any less. 100%, Ian, I'm completely with you. Mark Bayer says, as well as all-seated stadia, the sanitisation of football's contributed to poorer atmospheres. The working class support isn't as heavy as it used to be. Game attending demographic is different now. 100%, Mark. You're right. I fear for how the club attracts new supporters in the short term as well, because you can't just take your kid anymore. Unless you're lucky to get a ticket in a ballot and you and your kid are a member. You're very difficult to go and introduce a child to go and watch Newcastle play at this moment in time. A new stadium will change it, of course. There'll have to be tickets available on a match-to-match basis at different prices, I imagine. But yeah, it's that's the reason that the atmosphere isn't as good for me.
And I like what the guy said there about you don't have to be from the. I'm from Northumberland, me, and I support Manchester United, and I love the club, and I'm probably classed as a day tripper, but like. The trouble you get is, for me personally, I love Manchester United. So I gone there and I show that. But majority of people just want to say that they've been to Manchester United. So they'll go on and they'll have their phones out. And, they're not all the same. Don't get us wrong, mate. They're not all the same. But when you get lots and lots doing the same thing, it doesn't take long for it to tone down a bit inside the stadium. But when we're like when it's rocking, Old Trafford, it's rocking. And I mean, it's rocking. And St. James's Park is the same, when it's rocking, it's rocking. Against Chelsea, mate, maybe it's the second goal, but the third and the fourth, you just knew it was in the bag. It's freezing cold, like you say. I went away to gone away at the weekend because I said to Gary, I says, it spoilt me last the way being cold. Because I was thinking too much about being cold rather than enjoying the game, And it happens. We're human, mate. So just, it is what it is. Just go and support your team. And if you're going to cheer. If you're not, then you're not. But you feel
do what you want.
If you cheer.
Pay your money, do what you want. Okay, halfway through the show, time for the ads.
Go on.
A big thanks to all our sponsors. Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website, skipsandbins.com. Easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's sauces. They are handmade in Cumbria. If you want to order some of these sauces, call 01768 210 102 or go to the website, mrvickies.co.uk. Thanks again to United Group Travel. They are a UK coach holiday firm and they are based in Morpeth with pickups throughout the Northeast. No strangers on our tours, just people you haven't met yet. They're on Facebook. They've also got a website, unitedgrouptravel.com, or give them a call, 01670 632 460 or 0791 666 4174 or 07957 141 654. Big thanks to Darren Baldwin Funerals. They're an independent funeral director based in Gateshead. You can find them at their website, darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk, or give them a call, 0191 478 2730, or email Darren at darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk. Big thanks to Neil and the lads at Media Arts for all the help with the video side of things. And a big thank you to New Workwear. You can find them at newworkwear.com. If you want to help the channel, then please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button underneath today's video. Hit the thumb up, which helps you like the video, and please click share and share it to your other social media. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. If you want to help the channel, you could take out a one-off membership. You get a cup, a pen, a membership card, and a scarf. It's a £25 one-off fee, and you can go to nufcmatters.com and click membership, or put your smartphone over this QR code, and it will take you straight there. We also help the food bank on this channel. If you want to help the food bank virtually from wherever you are in the world, click on nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk, and it takes you to the matchday bucket, and you can make a donation, no matter how big or small. I'm also involved in the Northeast Footy Breakfast Show. You can find us on the nufctoontalk.com. I do Monday to Friday with Ted, the Sunderland fan, and Rye, the Borough fan, and Radio Dad Dave. Lots of fun, 7 till 9 every morning. Give us a listen. You'll not regret it. We also help support people in the area who are putting events on. An evening with Nobby Solano takes place on the 19th of January at the Tyneside Irish Club. And an evening with Peter Beardsley takes place at the Tyneside Irish Centre the week before, on January the 12th. Tickets for both events are available on Voucher and would make fantastic Christmas presents for anyone of a black and white persuasion.
Tom Dixon, you're right. Just heard of Bruno gets. Oh, look at that shirt. Yeah, God. Just heard of Bruno gets booked tonight. He misses the AC Milan game. Yes, you are right, Tom. Question for Melly. What does Anthony Gordon got to do to get into the England squad, do you think?
Honestly, I cannot answer that, mate. I really don't know. I think there needs to be a change of manager because, like the under-21 tournament proves that he's, let alone his Newcastle performances, proved that he's worthy of a start, So I cannot answer that, mate. He needs to get in there. He's an option. He's like a young Sterling at the minute, isn't he? He's creating chances on nearly every attack. So that's exactly what's needed. And I think playing alongside the likes of Bellingham and stuff, and Harry Kane will get a lot of chances for him. So he needs to be given a chance, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just think that Gareth Southgate, is coming towards the end of his tenure, and I think he's happy with what he's got and happy with what he's seen. There might be a wild card, in this England team, but I think there'll be a new manager in place when it comes to the next World Cup. I really do.
Well, I think it should be now, but he's a yes man, isn't he, mate? So
yeah, of course he is.
He's the best. His CV is Middlesbrough. Do you know what I mean? Tells you everything. But he's a yes man. He says the right things in front of the camera, and the FA absolutely love him and everything he stands for. So that's why he's still in the job. It's certainly not. We would be World Cup champions and European champions if we'd had any other kind of attacking manager.
Yeah. Okay, Alan, getting back to the fans, says, me personally, I don't blame the people that come from around the country. I think it's great. I have to disagree with you, Steve. Have you been in level 7? It's full of young kids. Well, I haven't been in level 7. But level 7 depends which level you mean, Alan. If it's the level where there's loads of kids singing, that under Ashley was designated as a singing area. That part of level 7 in the corner. And then obviously you got the strawberry corner. Those two sections really are where the majority of the songs come from. But not sure which bit you mean, Alan, to be honest.
That's because the UEFA fans are up there as well, aren't they? So it's the
bit of banter. Bit of banter. Sam, good evening. He says, familiarity is lost when there's no choice of seats. You're more likely to interact with people that you're familiar with. Another good point with regards to that. Jody Toomberlife, good evening, says, Manchester United are the last team to beat PSG in the group stages. That's just for you, Melly.
United.
Councillor Spenny, good evening. He says, who's getting further, Melly, the Toon or Stratford United in the Champions League? You think Manchester United are going to get
gone through, mate? I think the Toon will gone through.
Yeah. Okay, David, good evening. Says it's nice. If Nice finish higher than Manchester United in respective leagues, Manchester United only get the Euro Conference League. Yeah, there's lots of permutations, but there's still a long way to go, I think, as regards that. That's if the takeover goes through, I guess.
There'll be loads, man. You kind of gone off that. It's the Farmers League. You know what I mean? It's like the Scottish League, isn't it? There's two teams in that Scottish League. There's only one in the French league.
We're getting back to tonight's game with Newcastle. It's the same. Mbappe is like he's the difference. If Mbappe turns up and he's feeling it tonight, then Newcastle's got problems. If Mbappe is not feeling it tonight and doesn't turn up, then Newcastle's got a chance of getting something. So that's it's as simple as that. A new subscriber for you, Melly.
Yeah, I've just said thanks there. Thanks very much, mate. I hope you enjoy it. You let the bear woo, I don't think it'll be as good as Steve's.
You'll get there. You'll get there. I'll give you a bit of help. I'm in level 7 for the Milan game with John. I'll report back, Steve. Thanks, Benny. There's only one United, and that's Newcastle. Says Jackie. Definitely on this channel. Definitely on this channel, Jackie. You are right, 100%. Evening, gents, says John. I've said 2-2 all week about tonight's game, but thinking again, imagine smashing them. Yeah, I mean,
look, fear you, mate. There's no doubt about it. You beat them 4-1. So, you know, there will be that little fear factor there, but they'll also, you know, they're at home. So, but hey, anything's possible in football, and that's why we love it.
Can you remember an injury crisis at Manchester United, like the one that Newcastle's had? This is
joking, Steve.
This is crazy.
We've got a bigger injury crisis than you, man.
You haven't got 3 goalkeepers on the bench. You haven't got 3 kids.
We have most games.
You haven't got the stats. You haven't got 3 kids under 17 making their debut in a game against Chelsea.
Steve, you were winning 4-1. You could have brought your granny on.
Well, that's not the point. Your team at the weekend, your squad at the weekend, didn't have the same amount of injury issues that we had.
Not because we had Luke Shaw back and Manu come back in, but you know, we've still got a massive injury list. We've got some of our biggest players out: Casemiro, Anthony, Højlund, Martinez, just to name a few, mate. You know, it's. Well,
I'm not saying you haven't got. I'm not saying you haven't got injuries, but you're not down to the very bare bones.
And the difference being, mate, is that we've got quite a good depth.
Yeah, we haven't.
Yeah, so that's something that you need to work on, and you know, like, keep them all happy as well. You know, it's tough, but I think you're doing it the right way. You know, because ultimately you could have went out and bought the best 11 players on the planet and dealt with PIF. We are multi-trillion-dollar barrister solicitors. You know, you could have done that. Like,
your bench. I've just got your bench up here. You had on the bench
Bayinda,
Garnacho.
No, Garnacho started, man.
Oh yeah, they started. Yeah, I will get you.
Oh
yeah, Bayinda. Yeah, Reguilon, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Mejbri, Donny van de Beek, Aram Rabat. So I mean, you know, you've got experience on the bench. You have got compared to what we have.
Sorry, let's just have a look here, right? So you've pulled up the last game where there's just been
Everton.
a 2-week international break, right? So if we're going to just say Luton on the bench, we've got quite a good bench. Hold on a minute. Let's go to the one before that.
Oh, how far are you going back? 1995 or something. You get me point.
I get your point, mate. I get your point.
It is bad. I mean, and listening to people in
the
chat.
We're going to Man United when Newcastle got that fluke win.
There's people there. Yeah, that's the Carabao Cup. We both played weekend sides. Look at our side that night. We're talking here about potentially playing Alex Murphy in midfield. Joe Linton potentially not playing tonight. Newcastle resting him. Murphy could be playing midfield. Joe Linton rested. We might play 3 goalies up front, says Mossa. You never know. But yeah, look, ultimately, it's unknown for me. It really is. If this is the team, is this the team that Tom's putting out, or is this a team that's been announced? I'm not sure. Pope, Trippier, Lascelles, Shaw, Livramento.
Could be the team,
Bruno, Miley, Joe Linton, Almiron, Gordon, and Isaac.
Good enough to win that.
Pope, Trippier, Lascelles, Shaw, Livramento, Bruno, Miley, Joe Linton, Almiron, Gordon, and Isaac. That's fantastic, by the way. And there's his subs: Dubravka, Karius, Dummett, Hall, Huntley, Ndewani, and Parkinson. 3 goalies, 2 pensioners.
Yeah, man, that's your starting lineup.
3 goalies, 2 pensioners, and 4 schoolboys, says Sam. All right, well, that's not bad then. So what do you make of that lineup? Your first reaction was that's good enough to win it, Melly. I think it is as well, to be fair.
Absolutely, mate. It's a very strong lineup, but again, you know, like you say, your benches, I haven't heard of 3 of them.
Well, those 3
I have now after the weekend, but I hadn't.
Huntley and Ndewani and Parkinson are all juniors. Dummett, of course, senior pro, and Dubravka and Karius, of course, both goalkeepers. Lewis Hall, did well against Manchester United at Old Trafford. Struggled to find form in other games, but again, somebody
he's a good up and coming, isn't he? I would buy him, like.
Yeah,
if he can.
Yeah, I mean Newcastle will buy him. I think in the summer. He's just, I think, compared to Livramento, he's struggling to find his feet compared to Livramento. And I think unfortunately in one game he was booked, and that didn't help him. He ended up struggling a little bit through that. But look, he's a good player. There's no doubt about it. So how do you see this game going tonight, then, Melly? Newcastle against PSG. Are you confident? You think Newcastle could win this?
I think they can nick it, like, mate. And in an ideal scenario for me, maybe like if Newcastle gone 2-up and then lose 2 or 3 players to injury.
But you think Newcastle will win tonight? Prediction for it?
I don't know. I think it's going to be an intense game. But if you can hold them off, do what you did in Milan. Really, the only thing you did wrong for me in Milan was you didn't go for the jugular after 75 minutes when they were knackered. You soaked all the pressure up. You took everything that they had, and then you could have went for the kill and come away with the 3 points. But ultimately, a point's probably realistic, the best you could hope for tonight. But that being said, if you can do what you did in Milan and then break away in the 75, 80 minute, nick a goal, sit on it, and come away with a 1-0 win, it'll be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I'm going to go to a 2-2 draw tonight, which I think it'll take it to the last. I think it'll take it to the last game. I think Newcastle will beat Milan at home, and I think Newcastle will go through that way. But 2-2, I'm going for. Yeah, Melly, man, you were interested in Timo Werner. Personally, I think he's a great option for us. Never mind you.
No, that's where the net is, and that's what you need, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just trying to get the Champions League group up here.
Well done to the under-19s, by the way. Newcastle United under-19s. Yeah, played PSG under-19s today in Game 5. They won 2-1. And Newcastle took the lead through Scott Bailey. And although PSG managed to get an equaliser, Johnny Emerson got the winning goal. But well done to Newcastle United under.
So if you get a point tonight, right? It depends obviously what happens with Dortmund and Milan. You get a point tonight, and then the last game's against Milan and St. James. Is that right?
Well, could do. Depends what their result is tonight. The group of death is in full effect at the moment, like 100%. We could get those 2 games draw tonight. Newcastle beat Milan at home, and we're through. But it's so tight. It is so tight. We've got to get something tonight. If we lose tonight, it could all be over. But we will wait and see.
It's been a good group, though. It's been a good group.
It has. It's been a good
5, 6, 7. That's the points. I think Dortmund are doing well to be sitting on the top, but they're a football team. I think everybody expected PSG to be there. And Newcastle after the first game, everybody thought that they were going to whack the group after the PSG game. Sorry. So it's been a good group, mate, and I bet you're pleased that you've been a part of it. To be honest.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good one to start with. There's no doubt about it. Life Goal says, would you not consider supporting Newcastle now the team is doing well? And Bill says, you don't choose the club you support, the club chooses you.
Exactly.
Where you were born and live, no other way for me, which is down to his personal opinion. Newcastle getting smashed tonight, 4-1. Mbappe hat-trick, says Andrew Lee. We'll wait and see, mate.
Andrew Lee.
Aye.
He's brave.
We'll wait and see. You don't choose the club you support. You're right, though, Bill. It's good.
He is right. The club chooses you, and Manchester United chose me. Like,
yeah, never been the same crowd since they took away the old Glazers, says Porcy Street Henderson. Win, lose, or draw, we'll support them evermore. But let's have a win, please, says Mozza. Newcastle United then this weekend, and we're going to get you back on next Monday as an aftermath to the game. Take on Manchester United at St. James's Park. It is live on TNT Sports on Saturday, and it's an 8:00 kickoff. Team news for Newcastle. Well, we already know that Elliot Anderson, Harvey Barnes, Sven Botman, Dan Burn, Sean Longstaff, Jacob Murphy, Matt Targett, Joe Willett, Callum Wilson, and Sandro Tonali, who's suspended, will not be available this weekend. Emil Kraft and Matt Ritchie will be available because they're ineligible to play in the Champions League tonight. And Kieran Trippier and Jamal Lascelles are both one booking away from an automatic ban going into that game. Hopefully both of them come through. Tonight's game, of course.
Does that stand like?
unscathed. Yeah. I mean, obviously,
if they get a book in the night, does it stand in the Premier League?
No. This is the game for the Premier League at the weekend. I'm just saying they're one Premier League booking away from getting an automatic ban. So Manchester United, of course, playing the Champions League tomorrow, Wednesday night. Galatasaray in Turkey. The referee has been announced for the weekend, though. Robert Jones. This is his third appointment of the season involving us. And the first game was a 1-0 defeat against Manchester City. The 3-0 success in the Carabao Cup at Old Trafford. So he's already seen Newcastle and Manchester United play each other this season. And VAR is Michael Salisbury. And Tin Bin's coming in, but I doubt they'll be in for this weekend. But be interesting to see how that changes things over the course of the next couple of months. Certainly big decisions being made because VAR is causing issues left, right, and centre. Huge game this though at the weekend. It's always one which gets the pulse going. And from our perspective, we've got a fairly decent record against Manchester United in the last couple of seasons. There's no doubt about it. This game at St James's Park, Newcastle winning 2-0 with Willock and Wilson last season. The season before that was a 1-1 draw. So the last couple of years done okay. Manchester United though have done a number on us on a couple of occasions in recent years. There was a 4-1 win in 2020-21, but year before that, Matty Longstaff's goal was the difference in a 1-0 win. Year before that was a 2-0 win to Manchester United, and the year before that, Matt Ritchie's winner 1-0. So, look, it's been a topsy-turvy time at times, but there's been some great games. It's always producing goals. You've got to go back a few years now to find a game which probably didn't have a goal at all. Probably going back into the early 90s or the late 80s to find a game which didn't have a goal in it. So always exciting, always entertaining. What's your thoughts on this, Melly? Obviously difficult because we've both got games in the Champions League, us tonight, you tomorrow. How do you see this going at the weekend? How are you feeling going into it?
If you asked us last week, I couldn't see anything but a Newcastle win, to be honest. But then we've come back from the international break, rejuvenated. Luke Shaw's back. Mainoo's playing well. Hoyland will be back, hopefully. I can see we're beating you 3-1, to be fair. I just think, the Chelsea game could have won either way at ones each. Depending on what happens tonight, obviously you've got a lot of confidence at this minute. You've got a confidence gone into the PSG game. Depending on what happens tonight, if you were to get a victory or even a draw, then you've got every chance of beating us. Because the confidence will be flowing, the crowd will be up. Difficult place to go into. But if you get thrashed off PSG, how do you bounce back from that in 4 days? And that's if you don't pick up any injuries. Same with us, to be fair, though. But I don't know, mate. I've seen a different Manchester United on Saturday, and the Manchester United that I've known for a lot of years. They were on the front foot. They weren't the best, don't get us wrong, but they were a lot better than what they have been the majority of the season. So hopefully they've turned the corner. A bit of confidence in there now, and if they can get to Galatasaray and get something, we'll be bouncing, And 8 o'clock kickoff, the lads have been on the drink all day, and they'll be up in that away end, and they'll, they always take good support with them. So I'm going for a 3-1 Manchester United win, mate.
Are you going to the game?
Yes, but I'm in my mate's box.
So...
I'm in my mate's box. I like going, to be fair. It's good crack, It's I could have been in the away end, but I'm letting me pal Gary go with his two kids, they're going to quite a lot of ways and all, and they do the away end justice. So I'm going to be in my mate's box. It's funny, when you beat with 2-0 last year, he messaged us saying, I can see you. Well, you know how far the boxes are away from the away end. I says, give our man. And he sent us a picture, and it was just like the whole boxes. And then he sent another picture with a circle, and it was me, and I couldn't believe it. And he rang us, and he goes, you know how I knew it was you? He says, because on the first goal, you were the only one sitting down in that end. He says, "No, when the second goal went in, the same Bali kid was just sitting doing." I says, "That's definitely Melly." I couldn't believe it. So I'm looking forward to it, mate. You know, it'll be a good day. It'll be a good night. So,
well, all I'm saying, Melly, is make sure you don't waste any money at the bookmakers, because you're never going to beat us 3-1 at the weekend.
You reckon?
You're not going to beat us, and we're not going to get.
Friendly bet with you, like, if you want 10 out of charity or something. Or
10 out of charity, you'll not beat us 3-1.
I'll give you the draw now.
I tell you what, Newcastle United will do all right this weekend against Manchester United. This isn't the Manchester United.
We are
the scare factor's gone, man. You don't frighten Newcastle anymore. You don't frighten us anymore. It depending on these two Champions League results, mate. It could easily be an entertaining draw. But like we say, we'll have to wait and see what happens with these games. I'm going to go for a Newcastle win. I think Newcastle will win. I'm going to give you. You've been kind enough to give us a goal, so I'll give you a goal. I'm going to go for a 3-1 to Newcastle. Yes, 3-1 to Newcastle.
Conceded, man. We've got the best keeper in the league.
You're joking. Don't get me started about him. Newcastle 3, Manchester United 1. We will resume battle on Monday next week. One of us will be smiling, one of us will be frowning. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. We'll try and catch up, mate, on Saturday before the match. It'd be good to see you. But for now, Melly,
shout, mate.
Thanks for joining us, Melly. Take care, mate.
Thanks for joining everybody watching as well, mate. Take care.
Bye-bye.
See you later.